Whew. Hello folks, and welcome to a Sunday vlog. And as you know, the Sunday vlogs are generally me trying to answer some questions which have been asked from the YouTube channel. And today's vlog is something completely different. Never done anything like this before, but it is a question I get asked lots and lots. And there's a few folk that had asked me about it. So there was Petrach. He said, can you tell me your workflow in terms of editing and recording? Out with Spencer, can you tell me what editing software you use? And there's loads. I do get asked quite a lot on how I go about making my YouTube videos after I've been out in the field. So yeah, it might not surprise you, but you guys probably, well, you do usually only see me when I'm out in the mountains and it looks great and what have you, but there is a lot of other work that goes into before that YouTube film hits your screen on a Wednesday night. There is a fair bit of work that goes into the editing and processing of all those videos to try and bring it together into a steaming boots production. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I think the other thing I should really mention at the moment as well is time. It's the most precious thing we have, and I won't lie, it can take up a bit of time. Certainly my editing now takes me a lot less than it did in the first year or two when I started, because there is a lot to learn, but as you get used to doing the videos, your workflow tends to become more routine and you get used to doing things, so it doesn't take me as long. But I do try and tend to do it over the weekend. So if I'm out, for instance, most weekends I'm out, so if I'm out on the Saturday, I tend to try and get the editing of the film done on the Sunday. So I'm not really, to be honest with you, I don't really have much time during the week due to my 9 to 5, well it's not a 9 to 5 job, but my my other job, and also the family commitments. So when I do have that scenario when I'm out on a Saturday, I tend to get up, I don't sleep very well, so I tend to get up early on the Sunday morning before the rest of the family awake, and I usually get most of the editing done before breakfast time. Sometimes it eats into the day a bit further, but it allows me to have the Sunday. And you know, it doesn't always work like that, but that's the ideal scenario. So anyway, what do I do? How does my workflow work? How does my workflow work? How does that? It doesn't sound right, does it? But what is my workflow? So the first thing that I do is, as soon as I get home, literally the first thing that I come into the house with after a hill walking trip or a mountaineering trip is my cameras. So my different cameras come in first, and before I even go back out to the car to get the rest of my stuff, I take the SD cards out and I start transferring the files from the cameras to the PC, because that can take a bit of time. Most of my files are 4K and they do take up a bit of space, and it takes some time for them to move over onto the PC. So I usually get that going, and then I go back and I start emptying the car, putting all my gear away in my gear room, and by the time I've done that, wash my boots and take my poles apart and all that sort of jazz, the files have usually transferred onto the computer, and I do try and have them organised. So for instance, I'll use the example, I don't know, when I went up Glencoe to take a sunrise shot of the Buchel, I'll have my still photographs in one folder, and this will be under, I'll have a folder called video of hills, and then under there I'll have the names. So this one would be called, I don't know, Bucheletif sunrise, and within that folder I'll have my still photographs in one folder. I'll have all my video files from my GoPro and my Sony in another folder, and I'll have any audio files that I've taken in a separate folder, so they're organised. And then what I tend to do is I open up the software which I edit with, which is called Power Director. I transfer all the videos over, sometimes whilst I'm still putting the gear away, because once you do that you have to wait a bit of time for the software to kind of render through the videos before you're allowed to go and edit them. And that can take a bit of time as well. But once that's done, that's when I get into the crux of the editing. So for the next part, talking about the programs that I use, I'll go over to the PC and we'll go through them there. This isn't going to be a how to use Power Director, by the way, or how to use Lightroom. There's plenty of videos out there that could do that better than I can do it, so go and check them out. This is mainly just answering the questions of how I personally go about editing my vlog. So let's nip over to the PC and get stuck in there. Right, so here we are over at the PC, and I've got two screens here. I don't know if you can actually make out. I've got my main screen here, I've got my second screen here. This is just a picture I've put up. I've decided to use the Glencoe trip that I did a few months ago as an example. So what I tend to do first, when I've got all these files organised into the different folders, is the first thing that I always do is always look through all the still images. Sometimes I don't put any stills in my videos at all, but sometimes I do. And I can usually tell when I come home after the trip whether there's been anything, you know, any photography worth showing in the vlog. And I'll sift through all the pictures, and I'll write down the ones which I think are worthy of going into Lightroom, and I'll open them in Lightroom, and I'll then play about with them and I'll edit them. This one here, for instance, I tend to just edit them really quickly. This one here is a picture of Buccleuch Moor, and I do tend to only spend 3 or 4 minutes editing them. If I have to spend longer than that, then I don't I don't think they're worthy of going in the video. The other thing to note is I don't class myself as a photographer, so it's all very basic stuff. So sometimes if we just drop the highlights, maybe push up the clarity a wee bit, or drop it depending on how I want it to look. You see, I drop it there, it looks quite nice. Maybe increase the vibrancy a wee bit, increase the shadows there, maybe increase the saturation, drop a few things, make it look a bit warmer there, and yeah, you can sometimes just increase the warmth of the picture a wee bit. I tend to sometimes put a wee, just little bits and bobs there. That's maybe a bit too much. Bring the saturation down. That's a bit better there. And I might increase the sharp. Yeah, increase the sharpness a bit if I can remember where it is. Yeah, sharpness is already gone up there. Bit of masking, a wee bit of noise reduction, and I'm happy with that. That's absolutely fine. So that would then go in the video, and yeah, that's about all I do for the stills really. I don't tend to use Photoshop for a number of reasons. The first reason is I don't really know how to work it that well. It's so complicated. I do use it for one thing, which I'll come on to at the very end, but when it comes to just editing the pictures, it's a very quick edit. As I said, if it takes any longer than 2 or 3 minutes, I know that the picture's not worthy. It's not worthy, and it doesn't go in the vlog. So that's what I do first. I'll go through the pictures. There's usually not that many of them, unless it's been a particularly, you know, fruitful trip for landscape photography, but that's not the reason I go out. So what I then do, once I've done all the photographs, it's time to then look at the video file. So what I use is something called Power Director, and I've always used Power Director. I think well, that's a lie. When I started first, it was the free software you get with Windows, which I think was called Movie Maker, something like that. I can't remember. And that used to be a nightmare because I used to have to, back in the day, I've had 2 different types of files from different cameras. I'd have to convert the files to ones that, maybe it was Media Maker. Oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, the new software is all so much better. You can put any type of file in and it allows you to edit it. Power Director I find pretty intuitive and simple to use. So what I tend to do, the first thing I do is I'll go through all the video clips and just kind of look at them, see if there's anything which isn't worthy. I've maybe not had the camera settings on correctly, but I'll go through and just look at all the clips and just listen to what I've said as well. So there's maybe, if there's a story there, if there's a start, middle and end that I can work into the video, I can certainly do that. So I'll go through them all and take out the ones that I don't want, and I get an idea of what footage I've taken and how I can fit it into the video before I actually start doing the video. And I play about with it a wee bit, and there's time lapse there. Once again, I'm using this Glencoe one as an example. So I'll go through it all and see how it goes. And then essentially it's pretty simple after that. What I'll do is I'll select the files, put them onto the work line, pop them in. Sometimes they can take a minute or two to come up. I just work at them from here. This is just a little bit here, so I need to edit this. There's a bit of me walking in and sitting down. Oh, yeah, don't want to have that in it, so it's a case of kind of cutting to a bit that I want. I'll cut that, delete, and it leaves me another bit. And then again, there's a bit at the end here which shows me coming away to get the camera up. Don't want to put that in. I just want me nice sitting there, looking over the inversion. And it's bits like that, just editing, especially for, I suppose, for pieces of video where I'm walking in. You always say you walk twice as far when you're doing the videos, because you're setting the camera up and then going back to it. This is a good example here. So I've set the camera up, but I'm meant to be away over here. So press play. Don't know what I'm doing there. Doing my belt up, I think, and I head back down. So I need to go to where I want to start. I'm picking something up there, and that doesn't need to be in. Yeah, this is where I want to start, round about here. So what I'll do is I'll pause it there, cut this start bit out, remove that, and it leaves me with this section here of me moving, coming a bit closer, and then when I go past it, I just want to cut it there as I'm coming out of frame. It's just simple stuff like that. I can put it together. Sometimes I use transitions, so you get lots of different types of transitions with this software. I tend to use the fade one more often than not, so you can put that in there, and it fades from me sitting, looking at the fog inversion, to me heading away here or coming towards the camera. And essentially that's it, and I'll do that for all the clips. As I said, that doesn't tend to take too much time, and you know, if I've got photographs in there as well, I'll obviously put them in. So once I've done that, I've got a nice timeline, and it depends on how much footage I've taken as well. Some of the wild camping videos are quite long, so it does take a wee bit longer, but some of them are a bit shorter, so you can do it pretty quickly. So I get the video files in line and in a sequence that I'm quite happy, and put it together. And then what happens after that is I need to put audio in. So a lot of the time I'll just use the audio that I've captured it with. If it's not windy, the audio from the camera is fine. But you'll see here I've got my lav mic on, and if it's windy I tend to use my lav mic. And if that's the case, I've got a separate audio file which I need to then marry up with the footage that I've taken with the lav mic. And most softwares will have like a sync by audio, and you can sync them both together and it puts them in. Sometimes that doesn't work, and it can be a real pain to make sure that my lips are moving at the same time as I've been speaking into the microphone. I'll not lie, that can be a bit of a pain, but I do that. I can add any soundtracks, usually ones from Gavin McCloy, my pal who came out with me. You'll have seen a video, he does says a lot of the stuff's his music, which he's given me permission to use. Either that or YouTube library music that I'll put in there. Occasionally I'll put the wee a photo snap sound in there when I'm putting a photograph up to add it, but that's essentially it. And you then have to, once you're happy with it, I'll always go back and I'll watch it over again to make sure I've not missed anything, or I've not put any transitions, or there's no gaps between the video files, because I've been burnt a few times before where I have been rushing and thinking I've done it all, and I've rendered it all, and I've put it onto YouTube, and when I watch it there's a bit that isn't quite right. Sometimes you guys notice it as well, sometimes you don't, but it annoys me, so I always try and watch the video back before I render it. And nowadays I render it into 4K. Most of my cameras will be recording in 4K, and I render it into 4K. It does take up more memory, but you know what, I think you do notice the difference. I think it does give it that little bit of extra. So yeah, I'll watch it back, I'll render it, I'll then have a file, and at that point you need to open up YouTube, and then I download it to YouTube. But that's not the end of the story. The other thing which I do, which I talked about earlier on, once I've got the actual video file downloaded onto YouTube, I usually set I put it down, I schedule the videos because they come out every Wednesday. And that's why sometimes there can be a few weeks from me doing the adventure to it going out on a Wednesday evening. I do that because that can take a bit of time as well, depending on the size of the file. And once that's done, I then create a thumbnail, and that's when I go back to Photoshop. I use certain features on Photoshop. The Lightroom features, not that I'm aware of, I don't think Lightroom allows you to add text to your images, whereas Photoshop does. So I'm not going to show you how to do that, but once again, if you just type into a Google search or a YouTube search how to add text in Photoshop, you'll get somebody telling you how to do that way better than what I can tell you to do it. And once you've done it a few times, it's pretty simple. So do that, make the thumbnail, and then upload that to YouTube. The video's already there, there's a description written, and yeah, it goes out on a Wednesday night, and that's essentially how we do it. This has been a bit of a different video. I hope that has helped. As I said, I do try and answer the questions that you ask me. This might not be everyone's cup of tea, so I do apologise. I'll be back on Wednesday with another video from the great outdoors. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and if you've got any more questions, any other topics you'd like me to discuss on one of the Sunday vlogs, then stick it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the